Let's talk a little bit about the footy this weekend. The Bulldogs, undefeated. It's quite remarkable. Second week in a row, they're breaking all kinds of records as well. Second week in a row that they've held the opposition to nil.
First time ever.
Yeah, first time ever in history of the club. But they've got a great match coming up against the Broncos this weekend on Thursday night. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Is this the... Because you're looking at some of the teams they have played, is this probably their biggest test so far?
So one of the conversations over the weekend just gone was about travel. Now, the Dogs haven't left Sydney. So they've now got a run of Brisbane, Magic Round, which is in Brisbane, and then Canberra.
But do you think that because the Dogs actually stay in a hotel the night before every single game, no matter where they are? So
even they're in Sydney?
Even when they're in Sydney, they always...
We did that at the Roosters.
Yeah, they...
Why was that, for the players or the coaching staff?
The coaching staff. Sticky and Dean paid Cardi.
Straight to the Charo.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether that will actually impact the...
You still got to travel,
Bulldogs,
but also with travel, there's the recovery side of it. You know, it's not good to travel. Like, at the end of the day, it's ideal to walk down, have a swim in the ocean, rest. You know, lining up in airports and travelling on planes isn't the best thing for recovery. So, you know, there's that part of it. And you can understand some clubs, you know, being disgruntled about what they've gone through over the past couple of weeks, but they'll get tested over the next month.
How impressive has Coach Cameron Ciraldo been for this Bulldogs side, especially looking at their results this year and last year as well? His focus on defence, we had him on the panel pre-game ahead of the Good Friday clash, and I actually asked him, I said, when are you actually sort of happy with a defensive effort? And he looked at me seriously and he said, no, when we hold them to zero. He goes, I actually am not happy unless...
He's very calm, isn't he? Very calm. And he looks like a sort of coach who you just want to play for. Like, he played at Newcastle, and the guys I know who play with him said he's just a champion fella. And you can see that the way he comes across, but how calm he is and how calm he would give out his messages. But they look a happy club. They look like they're all on board, pulling in the one direction, and they can win the comp. I thought the next 2, 3, 4 years, but geez, I reckon this year they're a huge chance. Yeah,
they're humming. I think what it does show also that a couple of years ago when he was coaching and they weren't doing so well, how well he held his nerve through that period. And normally when you're losing through there, you start to sort of get doubt. You start to protect yourself and maybe blame people, and you know, it's mostly guides your personality a bit. But through that period, he didn't. He handled it really well, and since then, and he asked a lot of the players. If you talk to anyone or you watch the Bulldogs, they're fit. So he asked a lot of the players, and they seem happy enough to do the work. So in that itself, shows a lot of respect.
What about this test against the Broncos? Some changes as well for the Broncos. No Reece Walsh. Silvan Cobbo's been named at fullback.
Well, they've been ordinary the last couple of weeks, Brisbane. They were really ordinary against the Warriors. Day games, when you can use the ball, the Broncos have looked unbeatable, but on a slippery night when it's wet, they need to learn how to win ugly, because the other night actually, well done to Reece. He played full game and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks with some sort of injury. But
knee injury.
They need to learn how to win ugly, because at the moment, any team puts the pressure on them, especially in those wet conditions, they're not aiming up. So it's going to be a test.
How big of a test do you think it will be for the Broncos?
Yeah. Well, Dogs will give him nothing.
I don't know what they're doing at the moment. Like, they've got as good to go forward as anyone. Like, Payne plays big minutes. No one's put him on his back yet, and that's just... He's got all this offloading ability. I'm yet to see someone come off his shoulder and run through the line off an offload. Like, it just all seems he throws it, and then, you know, they throw it back to someone 5 metres away. They're just not working with him at the moment. And then when you do work with him, what it does, it drags all the defence in. And then all of a sudden there's options off that. Although Ben Hunt was a little bit quiet last week. So Ben Hunt's got to find his way back into this team. I think he's such a competitor. And it just didn't look like he competed last week.
Ben Hunt's big thing is on the right-hand side of the ruck. Dummy, right foot step, duck. That's his big... Now he's on the left-hand side. He's had to adjust. I thought last week against the Warriors, you could see he was in two minds. Do I pass? Do I run? Do I pass? And a couple of passes just went to ground. So simplify the way you play. I think you'll see a different Brisbane team. This one will go right down to the wire. I think the Dogs will win just, but this will be a ripper.
How do you see it playing out?
I think the Dogs,
Dogs.
they're going too well. Yes. And it was interesting when spoke to Cameron Ciraldo before the game. I think you used to. And he was talking about defence, and he said, a lot of it's spirit. He said, but there's also a lot of technical stuff around that as well, a lot of science. So obviously the staff there are doing a pretty good job as well. So 2 zeros in 2 weeks.
That's it, the defensive
Pretty good.
mindset. There you go.
It's a record.
It's